actually, this is a good question to describe how I got into the business of predicting the future of banking, and more recently being quite a vocal industry analyst, talking about the drive to digital and the shift in consumer behavior. But this started around 2006 when I guess I had the epiphany back then when I was doing some work with the likes of HSBC and Standard Chartered and others, that the web was really going to fundamentally change the mix. And then, of course, mobile came along not that long after that, the smartphone revolution. But I realized fairly early on that just purely because of convenience and people's take up and adoption of technology, that it wouldn't be long before they would be using technology to interact with banks rather, more than they would use the branch or any other channel for that matter. And that this was going to have to change the dynamic. At the start, it would change the way we thought about servicing customers, but ultimately it would change the way we deliver revenue in the business. And this was when I had the epiphany, I guess, when I realized that once the revenue is coming through the digital channels, then this really does change the dynamic of the organization. It changes the way we measure performance of the business. It changes the way we build and design products. It changes the way compliance is structured. It changes the way budgets are allocated. It was going to be a very significant shift. And while in the 80s we had the ATM as a new channel emerge, it really had just been an add-on to the bank as it stood. It hadn't fundamentally changed the way we operated, but mobile and web had the potential to do that. Now, we're still in the midst of that change right now, but it's a very exciting time. And I say to bankers, we're actually very lucky to be in this period of time, because for hundreds of years before, banking hasn't changed that much, the distribution methodology and the way it's been structured. So to see so much change and so many things happening in the banking space right now, it's a very exciting time. I think what is important for me as a thought leader in the industry is to keep my finger on the pulse and have a good understanding of the current issues that businesses are facing, the challenges. I think this year one of the things that we're seeing is we're starting to see the organizational change, or the organizational shift, where we're starting to see some new skill sets come into the business. We're starting to see some different leadership roles within the retail side. Someone looking after mobile, or someone looking after digital overarching. Things like that, which are significant changes on the org chart at least. And I like to understand how organizations are adapting to these challenges. And this helps me to keep on message and understand how I can assist businesses with the transition. The other thing is purely that in this business that we're in, at this level of the strategic side of the business, networking is very critical. So meeting with the top people in the banking space, keeping those skills and the strategic thinking right on that leading edge, keeping it very sharp and honed, means you really have to understand what the latest developments are and who's working on what new initiatives. And for me, participating in that is important, but also giving visibility to the great innovations that are coming out of Europe is important to share that with the rest of the world. So some specific innovations that we've seen. We've got Michael from MBank coming along. I think that's those guys have done a fantastic job, and it's a really interesting strategy to see a bank that's made a decision to build their business around drive to digital strategy. And then secondly, you've got Soon in France, which is we've just heard about that this week. So undoubtedly, by the time the EFMA event comes along, there's going to be a bit more news on that. Hello with BNP. We really are starting to see quite a bit of not what you would call pure play digital, but dedicated digital traction in Europe, and to the point where I think it's starting to really separate itself from the US in terms of its commitment to adapting to consumer behavior change. It's very exciting. So it's going to be great to be a part of that discussion in Europe itself. The one thing that I think we're going to start to realize this year, again coming back to the revenue message, is that our ability to deliver revenue changes quite dramatically with digital. In the past, we've had this funnel, which is the sales funnel. You start at the top with your advertising or your messaging, and then our objective has been consistently to drive people to the bank branch. And in the past, the mechanism, we've measured this in a couple of ways. It's how much product we sell within the bank branch and how much revenue we deliver within the bank branch. This has been a primary driver. We're going to start to find ways of delivering new revenue and different revenue through mobile and through tablet, through wearable computing, through contextualization and things like this, which just would not be possible in that traditional sense of the word. So this is quite interesting, but it is going to require a few changes in thinking. It's going to require changes in thinking from a compliance perspective, and there's pros and cons there. We're dealing with customers that we should know. So from a compliance perspective, it should be easier and faster to deliver revenue. But it is going to require, if you are of the mindset that, well, when a customer comes in, we have to take them through this event, which is the application process, and we have to get them to fill this information out, and we need a signature on a piece of paper, because if we file that away and there's ever a problem with the regulator, we can pull out that piece of paper and show that we got the customer's signature. If that's your basis of engagement of a customer from an onboarding perspective, for example, then you're going to be really challenged in the digital world. There's a couple of simple examples. We're starting to see the emergence of what I like to call revenue moments on mobile. So these are context-based decisions that the customer could make around their financial life. So one good example might be a dynamic overdraft facility, for example, where a customer comes into a supermarket, a grocery store, and it's on a weekend, on a Saturday, and it's on the 15th of the month when they normally get paid their salary. But this month, the 15th falls on a Saturday, and we all know that banks don't work on Saturdays, so we don't get the salary coming through. So instead, the customer is in the grocery store. He's expecting his salary to have come in, and here he can't buy the groceries. Now that's a point when contextually, through his phone, we could say, if you still want to proceed with this purchase, you can. Here's some emergency cash. The fee for this is €5 or whatever we might decide. And because we know from a risk perspective that Monday, the likelihood that his salary is going to come in is like 98%. So the risk to the bank is fairly low. From a customer service perspective, this is a fantastic service opportunity. But delivering that type of product or that type of service through another channel would be almost impractical. Because to stop them in the process in the grocery store making that purchase and then submit them to a normal onboarding or engagement or application process would be problematic. So this is a great example of how revenue can be delivered very seamlessly and very dynamically in this new space. But there's a number of things we're going to have to tackle from a philosophical perspective within the organization to deliver those types of opportunities. So I'm really excited about things like that, those revenue moments that from a digital perspective could be delivered in a unique way that could not be replicated through these other channels. And this, for many banks, this is going to end up being net new revenue in the near term. So we're going to start to see CEOs and heads of retail realize this this year and start to really aggressively go after some of these new revenue opportunities. Because once you've got the revenue, once you can show that these digital channels are profitable and delivering real revenue for the business, then that's going to this will really fundamentally change the dynamic of where digital sits in the organization. Because for many banks right now, digital's a cost. And they worry about the investment in the platform and how they're going to get that money back and where's the ROI. We hear all of it. But your revenue, if they're paying for themselves, that's a very, very different type of discussion. Who has got, we've got someone from Facebook, we've got Michael from MBank, myself. When individuals like this are the highlight speakers of a retail, financial services event like this, to me that says so much, because for 10 years we've been trying to put this message front and center at the top of the agenda, and now thankfully we're starting to see this happen. So I'm glad to say that for me it means that everyone within banking is starting to think about the digital revolution, if you like, and innovating, and it's a very, very exciting time. So it's a great opportunity. I'm really happy to have been invited.